Never before heard tapes of America's most famous First Lady, Jackie Kennedy, are being released later today.
In them are some surprising revelations made by the former First Lady. In a moment, we'll speak to our North America correspondent, Craig McMurtrie, but let's have a listen to some of her reflections.
And I went up and listened and eavesdropped. I could hear Matt and Amara saying something, and then I thought, well, I mustn't listen, and I went away. Please don't send me away to Camp David. Please don't send me anywhere. If anything happens, we're all going to stay right here with you. Even if there's not room in the bomb shelter in the White House, which I'd seen, I said, please, then I just want to be on the lawn when it happens. No, but I just want to be with you, and I want to die with you, and the children do too, and live without you.
Kennedy there expressing her desire to die with her husband, President John F. Kennedy, if there was a nuclear war in the wake of the Cuban Missile Crisis in the early 60s. Our North America correspondent, Craig McMurtrie, joins us now from Washington. Craig, good morning. We're seeing an entirely different side of Jackie Kennedy unveiled. Care of these tapes, aren't we?
We are. They are extraordinary, Michael. I mean, essentially, we're talking 4 months after JFK's assassination. She sat down with family friend and historian Arthur Schlesinger. They were very personal remarks. It was really a conversation, but they recorded 8.5 hours of this in 7 separate interviews. And what comes across is her total devotion to her husband. But for someone who shied away from publicity and was really seen as someone who was a fashion symbol, somebody who was aloof from the political process, if you like, she really does offer, in the little snippets that we've seen so far, she really does offer some searing insights, certainly on her opinion, of some of the key political players of the time, on Martin Luther King, the civil rights leader, for example. She says that man's terrible, and she's referring there to what she believes are derogatory remarks he made about John F. Kennedy's funeral. On Lady Bird Johnson, she says she used to follow the Vice President, Lyndon Johnson, around taking notes, and that she followed him around like she was a trained hunting dog. But I guess one of the more interesting things is just the complex nature of her relationship with Lyndon Johnson, her husband's vice president. She talks about his ego, that he would get drunk. She says that he didn't really contribute at meetings, didn't offer opinions on national security matters, and she says he didn't really do anything. She also talks about his choice, or the choosing of him to be vice president, saying it was because of the numbers, the votes he could bring from Texas. But have a listen to just the candid way she discusses the choice of Lyndon B. Johnson to be vice president.
If you'd had him up there with that enormous ego and thwarted and bitter, so nobody was happy about it. Everyone was even amazed that he accepted. Mm-hmm. I think, well, some other people can tell you about it, going down into his room and everything, and I guess he was drunk.
Jackie Kennedy there speaking about former President Lyndon Baines Johnson, and in these tapes she also goes into some detail about her relationship with her husband, JFK.
Yeah, she really does. It's the personal things, I guess, that come across. It was just, in one sense, an extraordinary family. In another sense, so very ordinary. She talks about her husband praying before bed. She talks about his habit of daily naps, which we've heard about before, but to hear her talk about it is quite interesting. She talks about how he loved playing with his children. And speaking of the children, at one point when she's talking to the historian Arthur Schlesinger, their son, John Jr. or John comes into the room, and the historian starts a conversation with the little boy. This is after, of course, his father's death, about what he remembers of his father's death. Have a listen.
John, you went to the airport today.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yes.
John, what happened to your father?
So, he's gone to heaven.
He's gone to heaven?
Yeah.
Do you remember him?
Yeah.
What do you remember?
I don't remember anything.
Wow, amazing stuff there. Now, just before we go, Craig, just on another front, there's some good news for a couple of Americans that have been held captive in Iran for some time.
Yeah, this is the case of the American hikers who were arrested back in July 2009 for straying across the Iranian border. Now, Iranian officials have said that they were spies. The two men, in this case Shane Bauer and Josh Fatal, have been found guilty of spying, and they've been sentenced to 8 years. Now, their travelling companion Sarah Shord was released last year on $500,000 bail. The Americans have been calling on Iran for the longest time to release the remaining hikers, these two men. Today, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the Iranian president, in an interview on a US network, has said that he expects that they will be released in the next 2 days, but the details are still being worked out. It appears as though they will be expected to pay, or their families will be expected to pay, a $500,000 bail to secure their release as well. And the theory is that he might be, this is the Iranian president, might be trying to ensure that he gets a better reception when he gets to the UN General Assembly in New York in less than 2 weeks' time. But certainly if it carries through, it is good news and brings to an end a difficult chapter in US-Iranian relations.
OK, Craig McMurtrie in Washington, thank you.
OK.